The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
Going to the Heart Ball on Triad Today. Hello everybody, I'm Jim Longworth. Welcome to another edition of Triad Today. Come to you once again from the Senior Botanical Garden, and we'll tell you more about them later on. Later on, the roundtable will show up, and we'll get into all sorts of controversies with them. One thing that's not controversial, though, is everybody agrees on the fact that the Heart Association does a great job, and they have a big event coming up. We're going to talk about it with three very special guests. Of course, my two good buddies, David Daggett, Griff Schuler from Daggett Schuler Law Firm. Their special guest is Jennifer Graziano. She's a Senior Community Impact Director at the American Heart Association of the Triad, and a UNC and App State grad. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Jennifer, I'm going to start with you. You have a big event coming up next month, I think it is. Now, what is it?
It's the Triad Heart Ball next Friday, April 25th at 6:30 at Grandover Resort and Spa. It's a big event where we not only celebrate the year-round efforts of the American Heart Association, but bring together community leaders to help make a health impact on the community so that everyone everywhere has a chance at a longer, healthier life free of cardiovascular disease.
Absolutely, and that sort of leads me into the other question I had for you, which is the kind of health initiatives that you want to promote and make people aware of that the Heart Ball helps with, right?
Absolutely. So there's two big achievements we're celebrating at this year's Heart Ball. One of them is our work around blood pressure. Here's the tricky thing about hypertension or high blood pressure is you don't go around feeling sick or having symptoms that bother you. The only way to know if you have it and how to manage it is to know your numbers.
Right.
And what the Heart Ball has done is place blood pressure monitoring stations throughout the community.
Great.
And provided community members with the chance to get to know their numbers at home so that they're an active participant in their health. We're also celebrating our work around creating a nation of lifesavers, which is making sure that one person in every household is trained in hands-only CPR and has the confidence to act in a cardiac emergency.
Wow, she's great.
I told you.
I know. Dave, I want to ask David, you and Griff, a personal question real quick. Yeah. Both of you support the Heart Association and the Heart Ball, among other things, for personal reasons, right. About your son, right?
Right. You make me cry. Yeah. I do this every time. Yeah, my son had open heart surgery about 2.5 years ago.
That's right.
And it is a perfect lesson in early detection, ongoing monitoring, quick intervention in a full recovery. It gave me a passion for what the Heart Association does. I'm all in.
Right. And Griff, on a sort of a similar thing, you're in there and supporting, in part because of your dad, right?
Yeah, my father had heart disease, and when he was in his 80s, his doctors came to him and said, look, you only have probably about a year to live unless we do open heart surgery. They did valve replacement surgery, and he lived another 10 years and passed away in his 90s. And I think in part due to my dad's experience, I love what the Heart Association does in moving forward science,
right?
And being able to improve these surgeries that are life-saving.
Absolutely. Jennifer, before time runs out, what if somebody says, hey, I can't get to the ball. What can I do to support Heart Association?
You can support us year-round by volunteering, or you can support us financially by making a donation at triad.org. at heart.org/Triad Heartball.
All right. Since you mentioned that, TJ, let's get this up on screen. Triad Heartball, Friday, April 25th at Grandover Resort. To register or donate, as Jennifer just mentioned, or to visit heart.org/Triad Heartball. And of course, if you ever need some services of David and Griff and his team, you can go to daggettschulerlaw.com or call 724-1234. David, any final thoughts on what this all means to the community?
Well, people don't realize that the heart issues affect everybody in everybody's family. It's the number one issue in women's health. And we all come together and support that. It makes our communities better. It makes them healthier. It's good for all of us.
All right, you and Griff going to do anything special at the Heart Ball? You going to speak or anything?
I'm going to dance.
I know, yeah. If he dances, I may have to dance too.
Well, his blood pressure will go up.
Yeah.
All right, Jennifer, thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
All right, guys, and you're going to hang around for the round table, right?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
We'll be right back after this.
You know, it's hard to believe the Safe Sober program has been going strong for over 30 years.
And over 600,000 students have made the pledge to stay safe and sober on prom night. You know, Griff, it's had a huge impact on our community.
Yeah, you're right, David. And now we're making sure the message continues year-round.
So everyone can join us in supporting our students.
Learn more and take the pledge at safesober.com, sponsored by Daggett Schuler.
Baby, watch me fly. Baby, watch me soar. Baby, watch me fly. I will open up the sky.
Fly local, fly easy, fly PTI.
Back now on Triad Today, sitting with two very good friends who are going to tell us some things going on in the city of Winston-Salem. Pat Pate, of course, is city manager, and Chantel McClam is director of the Neighborhood Services Department. Good to see both of you.
Thank you.
Pat, spring is upon us, and that means that a lot of us are going to be out in the yards and the garden and working and doing things in the neighborhood. How does that sort of impact the city?
Well, that's a great question, and we love the springtime. That's when Chantel's department really comes alive with neighborhood services. It's a high priority of council to have livable neighborhoods and livable communities, and so we do a lot of things to try to make sure that people have the right things in place to enjoy their neighborhoods.
Right, so that leads me to you, Chantel. What kind of services and things do you provide for people under your department?
So in neighborhood services, we got a lot going on. We've got 4 different divisions, and so probably the most notable would be our code enforcement, where we enforce minimum housing code and environmental violations, so your high grass and weeds. So when the spring comes, yes, we get busy.
Because you don't want just people ruining the look of the neighborhood because they don't ever keep the things, take care of things.
Absolutely. You know, it goes back to that livable neighborhoods. We want to keep the communities beautiful, and so we enforce that code just for those reasons.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead, you were going to touch some other things.
So the other things we have in neighborhood services, we have our Housing and Community Services Division, and they oversee our grant funding, and they're the ones that provide support to those who are experiencing homelessness in the city.
Okay.
We have our Linden and Rehab, so if you have emergency things that you need done to your home to bring you up to housing code, then we have affordable loans that we can get folks to get that work done. Yes.
That's neat. Now, how much do you rely on, say, federal grants to make all this happen?
We get some funding. We're an entitlement city, so we do receive funding for our COC, for our continuum of care. We receive funding for our Linden and Rehab. A lot of those areas, we rely on federal funding for that.
Didn't you or Pat send me an email one day about an open house you're doing? What is that?
We are. It was something that we started last year, and it has worked very well. So we've got an open house series that's coming up in May, and so we've got 4 dates in May, and it's going to be those dates are going to be coming out soon. But we have 4 dates in May when we'll come out. We'll bring staff from every division,
right?
So you'll be able to learn what those divisions do, ask questions, voice your concerns, whatever that may be. But this is a good opportunity to learn about everything Neighborhood Services has to offer.
I know you're biased about this, but can you give any example maybe of how you think there's all this that you're doing and your team is doing has had a sort of a positive impact on the city?
Oh, yes, I'm definitely biased. I would say everything that we're doing is having a positive impact. As it relates to housing, you know, we've got the Choice Neighborhood Program that Phase 1 has been implemented on Brown School Road. So we've got 81 units of mixed income that's going in over there. Affordable housing is a big concern in not just our city, but all over the nation. So that was one step towards our greater efforts to providing affordable housing in the city.
You know, Pat, I'm going to ask Chantel one more thing because I've always been able to see it in her eyes that she really likes what she's doing. Why do you like what you're doing so much?
I was born and raised in Winston. I think I was born to serve as well, but I just enjoy making a positive impact on my community. And I think by providing affordable housing, providing livable communities, beautifying the area, it just makes me feel good.
Pat, just to sort of wrap up things, everything that Chantel and her team do to help people that really benefits the whole city. Even if you say, well, wait a minute, I don't live in this neighborhood, I live over here, but it's good for everybody, right?
That's right. The rising tide raises all boats. The number of families that they've helped put in houses or to help maintain and be able to stay in a house, it's in the hundreds in the community. And then, as you mentioned earlier, I know to keep my grass less than 8 inches, so they don't come to see me. So we're trying to keep our neighborhoods nice, keep those places where people want to come and enjoy themselves.
Right, and there's a health aspect to that whole thing too. All kidding aside, to keep things intact, they're there too. All right, up on the screen. Before I forget, City of WS stands for Winston-Salem, of course. cityofws.org is where you can go for more information, and then later on find out more about the open house. Thanks everybody for what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Triad Today also airs on GTN Spectrum Channel 13 and streams on WFMY Plus, free on Roku and Amazon Fire. Back now on Triad Today, always glad when we can spend a few minutes with some of the good folks at Alamance Community College, because they do so many great things and have such great courses. And we're going to talk to a gentleman, it's first-time visitor to the show. He's doing something pretty neat over there. Justin Pedley is department head of the Veterinary Medicine Technician Program at Alamance Community College. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me today.
Tell us a little bit about, first, before we get to the program itself, about your background and what led you to sort of want to head up a department like this.
Absolutely. Well, as with any student in high school, I was really trying to explore my different pathways and what options were available to me. I tried a few different ones and landed on some that I didn't see myself having a fulfilling career long-term in, but that experience in the workforce really allowed me to be able to enhance my customer service abilities, if you will.
Right.
I landed on the veterinary field as an adult learner, went to school, got my 2-year degree from a different community college, and then worked in industry, the veterinary field for a number of years in large animal medicine and small animal medicine. Academia called my name. I went back and served another institution for 4 years before this opportunity came up.
But it was that background with the veterinary medicine that really turned the tide for you, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It absolutely was. I really saw not only the opportunity to serve my students, but also to serve a wider community.
And there's such a need for that, and we're going to talk about that now. Now, what factors led the college, you and the college, to decide to put this program together?
A lot of the background work happened before I even came on board. And so when I found out about the position, they had already put surveys out into the community to really gauge the interest of what is the need in this area. And what they found was that not only from a veterinary clinic perspective, but individuals were looking for job opportunities in a stable field. And
Absolutely.
So it was a perfect combination of two worlds meeting. The need is there, the desire for students is there, and they were able to hit the ground running and start developing things.
Yeah, and I just think it's so great that you're training veterinary medical technicians, because there's such a shortage. There's a lot of turnover in that field sometimes, and it's just sad because dogs and cats and other pets, large animals, are going without care in many cases.
They are.
So you're doing a great community service on that. Now, you do a sort of hands-on aspect of the training for your VMTs.
Yes, sir.
Well, why is that so important?
It's, when you think about bringing somebody into a new industry that they may never have been into, we can't just teach them out of a textbook and then expect them to go translate that into hands-on skills into the real world or into their career. And so it's really integral that not only are they developing their knowledge and their baseline, but they also have to be developed. What do I do with my hands? What kind of things am I going to be doing in industry and in practice? I'm going to be doing this repeatedly, so I need to be proficient by the time that I graduate in order to make sure that I can meet all of these skills required for me in industry.
Right. Now, you guys over at Alamance Community College also own, as I understand, you own a 47-acre farm. Is that right?
We do.
Now, how does that benefit the program of training these veterinary technicians?
When you think about the long-standing roots in agriculture for Alamance County, and how do we continue to serve that industry? That industry is a very challenging one, just from the standpoint of, we see all across this state, we see farmlands diminishing, and we see that agricultural sector really struggling to fulfill a much-needed workforce.
Right.
Where the veterinary medical technology program fits into that piece is because we already have horticulture and agriculture on campus. not only will they have animals for their programs, but we will be able to provide medical care for those programs.
Wow.
When you're thinking about treating animals, how we treat a livestock animal is going to be very different compared to how we treat our beloved pets that live in our homes. But those animals still need care nonetheless. And so having a workforce that meets that need, that is able to understand the struggles and limitations that the agriculture sector faces and be able to support them through any of those decisions.
All right, now educate me for just a second before time runs out. As far as registering for this course we're talking about with veterinary medical technicians, can you just register anytime, any day during the year, or is there a specific window of opportunity?
Absolutely. We accept applications year-round. Before you can apply to the program, you actually have to be a student at Alamance Community College, and then there's a separate application to get into the veterinary medical technology program. So we do what's called a competitive admissions process that students must be able to meet and achieve those standards before they can apply. But we accept applications year-round, and then we cut off that application window about May 31st. So if you're applying for the fall, we'll cut off on the 31st each year.
Good deal. Up on screen, alamancecc.edu is the website you go to for more information. Justin, thanks for all you're doing, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me today.
We'll be right back after this.
Spartans are the teachers, artists, nurses, scientists, and leaders who build our communities.
Back now on Triad Today, and we have a return visitor. She comes about once every 20 years. I know it's been a long time. Courtney Lowe is president of High Point Community Theater. She's also a voice coach, a piano instructor, a director of theater, and other things. But you're into everything.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm pretty lucky.
I know, and you do a good job in all of it. Hey, look, you emailed me one day and said you had a special anniversary. Tell me about that. And as you do that, remind us of what your mission is.
Absolutely. So we are getting ready to celebrate our 50th season over at High Point Community Theater. We are an all-volunteer-run community theater, the only community theater in High Point. And we are dedicated to bringing theater to everyone. We like to make it accessible. So we have things like our Pay What You Can night to make sure that everyone can have access to theater.
Sure.
We are devoted to providing volunteer opportunities. So not only do you have the opportunity to come be on stage with us, but you also have the opportunity to work backstage. And we want to foster a love of the performing arts.
Absolutely. Now, the 2025-26 season, what do you have coming up?
We've got a great season for our 50th season. Our first show of the season will be Sordid Lives, which is a comedy, hilarious comedy, more for the adults. Then for the children, we have our 101 Dalmatians Kids production.
Oh, all right.
And then we have Peter Pan Jr. That's all in the summer. And then kicking off at High Point Theater in October, we have Groundhog Day, the musical, based off that famous Bill Murray comedy, but turned into a musical that was fairly successful on Broadway.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a great show. I believe it's the Triad premiere. I don't believe anyone else has done it in the Triad.
Right.
Then we are moving into our 11th annual production of A Christmas Carol, the musical.
Wow.
That will be in December. And in March, we will be doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
How about that?
Another one that hasn't been done here in a while. Really excited to have that because it's got roles for all ages. And then wrapping up the season, we will have Noises Off in May, which is, again, another really hilarious comedy. Lots of fun, a really complex set. So no one really does it very often. So I like to think that our 50th season is bringing some new stuff to the Triad.
Right. Now, what led you to a career in theater?
So I started theater when I was 10 years old. I was the hag in a production of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I had one singing solo, and I sing it proudly, and that was really when I first fell in love. I discovered that being on stage just brought a different side of me out. And I credit it for helping me with my public speaking, helping me with meeting people and with being comfortable in front of other people, and also learning to just be myself and use that creative side of my brain. And that's one of the reasons I still work in theater, is just that creativity.
Now, other than, I mean, beside the fact that you're president, which has a lot of responsibility with it, are you going to direct any of these productions you sort of alluded to earlier?
So I do run our Junior Theater Festival program, which is not part of our season, but it is a program where we take young adults to a theatrical competition in January in Atlanta. There's about 8,000 people there. I call it the Super Bowl of musical theater.
Wow.
And so we work on a production for that, and so I coach that. I'll be doing that. I won't be directing anything this season, I don't think, because I am also now the executive director over at Communities and Schools of High Point.
How about that? You're just so busy. It wears me out. I came in here with full of energy, and you started telling me all this stuff you're doing. Now I'm tired. I need a nap. I'm just tired. Now I want to mention that you do most of the things you do is at High Point Theater. You do it at High Point Theater. So we'll get a plug for them in a second. But if you want to learn more about community theater, go to hpct.net. That's hpct.net, which I assume will tell all about the different shows.
Absolutely. Yep, you can get tickets, see the schedule, all those things.
And then also please visit highpointtheater.com. That's with 2 T's in there, highpointtheater.com, or you can call 887-3001 for tickets to their various productions. We hope you will do that. Courtney, thanks for all you do.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to see you again.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you to catch my column Longworth at Large and Yes Weekly every week. It's available throughout the Triad, or you can go online, yesweekly.com. Back now on Triad Today. Before we get to the roundtable, a sad note for me personally. A friend of mine, Jack Hilliard, passed away last week at age of 85. He was director at WFMY TV when I was there 51 years ago, and Jack helped me with a lot of special projects that we did. He was always even-keeled and great. He was a mentor, and we will miss Jack Hilliard. All right. We have three great guys here. Of course, Ogie Overman, David Daggett, we held over from the previous segment, and filling in for Keith is Dr. Don Martin, Chairman of the Forsyth County Commissioners. Guys, if Senate Bill 514 in the state passes, it allowed nurses to practice without supervision from a physician. We talked about this exactly a year ago. Now it's a hot item again. You guys okay with nurses delivering patient care without supervision of a doctor? Ogie.
Quite often I am. I mean, I've been without a PCP doctor for years, and the PA does fine, but there are certain instances you really need a specialist. You really do need a doctor in certain cases.
David.
Yeah, I think there needs to be prescribed limitations and guardrails, but I'm all in favor of it.
Don.
Yeah, I am too, and I think it does exactly that in the bill, and it is for advanced training.
Right.
It's not just the average nurses.
Absolutely. Citing health risks to children, state legislators are also proposing a bill that would ban vape and hemp-derived products on public school grounds. Now, it sounds like a good idea, but now should the use of those products be up to the parents or up to the school, Ogie?
No, I mean, you can't allow people to, it's smoking pot, that's what it is. Can't do that at school. I mean, wait till after school for crying out loud.
Vaping thing, David.
It's the same thing as when I was a student and we were experimenting with cigarettes. They're not allowed on campus. They should not be allowed on campus. Going to our Safe Sober message, peer pressure is the number one thing on kids.
Absolutely.
They don't need that peer pressure in school.
Yeah, I was experimenting with girls. I didn't smoke. But they didn't get rid of the girls for some reason. Don, what do you think?
Most school districts ban vaping.
Right.
I actually don't think a lot ban the hemp products yet.
Right.
But a statewide law would probably be welcome.
All right, here's another sort of similar thing. State law defines a part-time student as one who's enrolled in both a public and a private setting. Now lawmakers have proposed a bill that would require public schools to provide courses to students who go to private and religious schools. Okay with that, Ogie?
No, that's taxpayer money going to people that are sending their kids. No, absolutely not.
Dave Daggett.
My answer is yes, but you have to follow the money, and there's got to be some sort of financial accountability between the two that Dr. Martin would be much more familiar with than me.
Yeah, of course, Don, before he became chairman of Forsyth County Commissioners, as you all know, was superintendent in Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools. Don, what do you think about that?
I think it's fine because, in a sense, Ogie, it gets some private school students into public schools, and many times they decide to stay or to take other things. So it's actually welcoming them there. But the money does have to follow appropriately. And right now, you have to be there half a day, and it really needs to be kind of an hour by hour fraction parts of the day.
Meanwhile, state lawmakers have proposed a bill that would strengthen, quote, women's only spaces, unquote, such as restrooms and school locker rooms. Proponents say it protects women's privacy rights and safety. Guys, do you have a problem with protecting the privacy rights of girls and women? Ogie.
Well, that's not the issue, Jim. I mean, let's look at it for what it really is. It's another iteration of the bathroom bill, HB 2. Ask Pat McCrory how that turned out.
Right.
I'm against
Although Pat didn't create it, he tried to get rid of it, but very few people know that. David, Ogie's right about it. It's sort of a bathroom bill part 2. But do you have a problem with protecting women's privacy?
Do not have a problem with protecting women's privacy. I think we have done that, and I think that's already in place. I think we're looking for a solution to a problem that really doesn't exist.
None.
I think it's well said. I mean, I respect privacy for everybody.
Sure.
Men and women, we want to have all public spaces like that.
All right.
Bathroom.
Yeah, bathroom. Yeah, I think, if you have a teenage daughter or, you don't want, I don't want to get into controversy, but if you don't want a male, invading that space, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. The owner of Meta Platforms has announced that kids under age 16 will no longer be allowed to live stream on Facebook and Instagram without parental approval. Now, here's the question. At what age do you think kids should have the right to use the internet without parental consent? Ogie.
16.
You agree with them then?
I don't like, it's an unenforceable law for one thing.
Right.
It never happened.
David.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did an internet safety program many, many years ago with my 5-year-old son with a chainsaw and said, would you turn him loose with a chainsaw?
Right.
Don't turn him loose on the internet.
Right.
Is there an age? Yes. Should it be driving age, voting age, or drinking age?
What do you think?
Probably driving age.
Driving age. So you're okay with the 16?
Yeah, I'm okay with the 16.
Don, what do you think? This is targeting at 16. Do you think the kids should have the right earlier to use it?
No, I think 16 as a minimum. And in fact, one could argue 18 in some regards because parents do make a difference in paying bills.
Right.
If you're paying the bills, you have some leverage.
All right. Finally, scientists at the University of Barcelona say that human urine is an excellent fertilizer for plants. Guys, have you ever tried this method on your garden at home? Okay.
Don and I talked about this one time. We go to any frat house in America, and along the front porch there's going to be a line of dirt and where no grass grows.
Right, yeah.
Figure it out.
Ogie was in some very liberal fraternities. Don, about your garden? Well, David, you.
Well, you know what? I consulted an expert, my landscaper.
Yeah.
And he said, well, look, we use manure everywhere.
Right.
And I said, yeah, but what about the question? He said, let me give you some legal advice. Take the fifth.
Yeah.
I have.
All right, 3 peas in a pod. All right, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. Researchers in Australia say that a man can live on with an artificial heart for 100 days. That's nothing. There are a lot of politicians in Washington that lived there for decades with no heart at all. All right, for all of us here, you like that, Ogie? All right, for all of us here at Triad Today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.